Today, we're going to dive into a simple but honestly pretty powerful idea: how the money sitting in your bank account can either work for or against the future that you actually want. So let's get right into it. So, let me ask you a question. Do you know where your money goes at night? It sounds a little mysterious, right? But the answer is fascinating. When you put money in a bank, it doesn't just, sit in a vault somewhere. No, it goes to work. The real question is, what kind of work is it doing? First up, let's pull back the curtain on the secret life of your deposits. You might actually be surprised to learn what your money's up to when you're not looking. Okay, so think of your bank as a huge investor. It takes all your deposits, yours, mine, everyone's, and it lends them out to fund all sorts of things, from home mortgages to massive industrial projects. The problem? A lot of the time, that includes financing things like fossil fuel extraction, oil pipelines, and coal plants. So without you even knowing it, your savings could be directly supporting industries that go against the very environmental values you hold. But what if you could change that? This brings us to a really powerful alternative: sustainable, or what some people call green banking. Let's take a look at what that actually means. At its heart, sustainable banking is all about conscious alignment. It's choosing a bank that intentionally uses your money to fund positive projects. Think renewable energy, affordable housing, community development, while actively screening out the harmful stuff. And hey, here's a quick but really important clarification. When we say green banking in this explainer, we're talking about your personal checking and savings accounts. We're not talking about those big quasi-public financing entities the EPA also calls green banks, because those don't serve individual consumers like you and me. This slide just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got a financial model that, maybe without you even knowing it, is funding pollution. And on the other, you have a model that intentionally funds solutions. It's a fundamental shift in where the power of your money is directed. And the impact? It's totally measurable. According to data from GreenFi, just making this one switch can cut your personal carbon emissions related to banking by an average of 76%. I mean, think about that. That is a massive change from a single decision. Of course, whenever something gets popular, you're gonna see some deceptive marketing. So how can you tell the difference between a genuinely sustainable bank and one that's just greenwashing? Well, this next section is your verification guide. The absolute key here is to look right past all the leafy logos and the eco-friendly slogans. You need proof. And that's where credible third-party certifications come in. They are basically the gold standard for verifying that a bank's actions actually match its promises. So here are the big three to look for. First, B Corp certification. That looks at a company's entire social and environmental performance. Then there's membership in the GABV, or the Global Alliance for Banking on Values. That shows a real public commitment to positive impact. And finally, fossil-free certification is exactly what it sounds like: a clear signal that they are not funding the fossil fuel industry. And this isn't some tiny niche movement. That Global Alliance for Banking on Values, it represents banks that serve nearly 50 million customers all over the world. This is a huge, growing global force for change that you can absolutely be a part of. Okay, so you're ready to look for a bank, but where do you even start? The great news is there are a ton of different options, and each one has its own unique focus. Let's explore how to find the right fit for you. This table gives you a really good snapshot. You just have to ask yourself, what do you care about the most? If it's climate change, a digital-first bank like Atmos might be perfect. If you want to support racial equity and local development, look into a community bank like City First. Or if you're thinking about financing your own solar panels, a specialized credit union is probably the way to go. The best bank really just depends on your personal values. All right, so you found a bank that really clicks with your values. Now for the part that might feel a little intimidating: actually making the switch. But I promise, it doesn't have to be complicated. We can break it down into a super simple 5-step plan. Following this exact order is really the key to a smooth transition. First, just map everything out so you don't miss anything. Then open the new account. Now here's the pro tip: move your income before you switch your payments. That way you know the money is there when your bills are due. Then switch your bills over gradually, not all at once. And finally, after a couple of months, just to be safe, you can close that old account with total confidence. And here are just a few final tips to make sure it all goes smoothly. The biggest mistake people make is closing that old account too soon. Also, keep an eye out for those sneaky once-a-year payments for things like insurance. And don't forget all the smaller services linked to your old debit card. A little bit of patience here can prevent major headaches later on. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Switching your bank account might feel like a small personal choice, but when thousands and then millions of people do it, it sends an incredibly powerful message to the entire financial industry. This quote from The Motley Fool just nails it. It really is like casting a vote with your money. Every deposit, every transaction becomes a statement of what you value. You're not just managing your finances, you're actively investing in the kind of world you actually want to live in. It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? By choosing where your money spends its nights, you're doing more than just saving for your own future. You're helping to build a more sustainable future for everyone. So what will you ask your money to do tonight?